Hello, Sharif here, and welcome to our next installment of The View Inside the Chrysalis. This is what it looks like to turn into a butterfly. Um, um, I was about to say, gee whiz, it'd be nice if the divine could make this nicer or less messy or whatever. But that's not the purpose. The purpose, for some reason, is for it to be messy. When I think about birth, I think about lots of beings other than human beings, because we can tend to be very self centered, um, I should say self exclusively focused. And the being I think about the most is the giraffe. Mother giraffes give birth standing up, which means that her child has a 12-foot drop to get to the ground. And the child is born head first, as most children are. And you can just, you kind of see the head just kind of like dangling there. And his first view of this world is a 12-foot drop. And I can just imagine what's going through his mind. Like, was this the best you could come up with? So all of us, all beings have the 12-foot drop in within the context of their biology. And we in our society, as we're birthing this new society, birthing a new way for human beings to be on the planet, birthing it very, very quickly. I think that it's interesting that we're um, again, the people who are focusing on the pain and the afterbirth are complaining about the process, but the process gets you a baby, and this baby will be something that all of us can live with. And I'll talk more about that in about 3 minutes. And I'm setting my timer. Um, I've been doing something that I'm not doing today. And what I've been doing is saying this is not a guided meditation and then guiding the meditation. Bad habit. Um, and or bad behavior that I don't want to form into a habit. So I'm going to get us started, and then I'm going to call us back. And in the 3 minutes that expires, I am not going to be talking unless something else comes up. Um, I just will invite you to literally um, be with me and be with us as as we start the journey. So let's get started. I'm closing my eyes. And as you are ready, uh, if you want to open your eyes, and we can begin our session. Um, Today's going to be a different session. I don't, and all I'm there's different energy going on. Um, as you know, I'm writing the book, What the Baby Looks Like, um, subtitled "Birthing the Nation of Gaia," and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But as I'm writing the book, the parts of the book just flow right along. Uh, I'd say 2/3 of the book has been written a year ago or more. But there are these places where I know what I want to say, but the language gets stuck. And I've had a writing assistant, and we're working on these stuck parts together, and the language is still stuck. And then I brought another friend in to help with some of the stuck parts, and the language was still stuck. And so, as I'm preparing for this live stream, um, 12 minutes before I hit the magic button and go live, it got unstuck. The section that has been stuck all this time just went pop, and I see the whole thing now, and I'm really anxious. Actually, I want to talk about it, but I'm not much anyway. Um, but I see all these things I want to get written down, and it's just it's amazing how that happens. It is not a process that's under my control. It's not a process that's under your control. This is going to happen exactly when it's going to happen, and that made me start thinking about in the 12 minutes before I hit the button. Um, and I may be dating myself here. Back when my first wife and I were expecting our first daughter, there's this people were offering what were called Lamaze classes in childbirth that teach you breathing techniques uh, to deal with your childbirth. And I was never convinced that the Lamaze classes were anything other than to keep people busy while the baby is being born. To say, oh, I'm doing something here, as opposed to what happens, which is that everybody is along for the ride. Um, so even people who don't want to ride are along for the ride. I was never convinced that the Lamaze classes made the childbirth come out any easier, any faster, any less strenuous. Lamaze babies didn't come out with smiles on their faces. They were crying like everybody else. So um, so a lot of the things that we do, almost all of the things that we're doing in this society, in American society, are the kinds of things that are going to keep us busy until we get to the part where we're actually birthing a new society. Even here in this country, in the 1776, people saw the conflict between the United States and England as those people over there. I just want to um, grow my corn, raise my pigs, leave me out of this. Um, you guys want to rule? Okay, I would prefer you to rule as opposed to the king, but it's not a real big deal. I think that most of us are in that spot right now when I talk about birthing a new nation, the nation of Gaia. And so I think that a lot of people are saying, "Oh, gee, I wonder what Sharif is up to now. And oh, a new nation. Yeah, the one we got really sucks. So, but why not? You know. And if we understand what this process is, we can begin the process of cooperating with it. Cooperating with it means if you know you've got to spend a couple of days in the hospital, you may want to pack an overnight bag. What a concept. My mom would tell me that, lots of women wouldn't do that. They just, they didn't think the process through. Right now, all those people that wear the ties that we call our leaders, they're not thinking the process through. They're not supposed to. Why are they the leaders? They found themselves in the seats. They found themselves in the seats that their grandparents were sitting in. So everybody thinks, oh, yeah, you can keep sitting there. And so what we have to do is think the process through differently, thinking with our hearts and our heads, not just one or the other. And looking at what is being called forward as we are kind of working through all this. Okay, so when you ask what is the Nation of Gaia about, what does the Nation of Gaia look like, the first thing we have to do is start thinking about what have we thought of as a nation, and then start saying how is that different from how we'll be thinking about nations in the future. Some of the key elements, and it's really amazing. We don't have the time to go into this in depth, but we're going to go into a little bit more depth our next session on Wednesday too. But one of the key elements is common governance. Since the times of kings, our governance has become more widespread, more participatory, more less I'm going to tell you what to do. And we're about to make a major shift in that so that it becomes absolutely common. All of us get to govern. All of us get to share in how we think about doing governance. Another thing that's going to shift is common ownership. Now, one of the biggest issues that we've got as human beings on the planet is that I say I own X. And because I own X, I can do anything I want to do with X, and you can't stop me. That I have freedom, and freedom means I can do X, I can do anything I want with X. Okay, see, okay, I gotta figure out how to point here. Okay. Okay, see that plant right there? I really like that plant. It's been with me for years and years. I can go over with a candle and set the whole thing on fire, and nobody can stop me because it's my plant. I own it. The plant doesn't even own itself. I own it. What if we think about things differently? That ownership means having the beneficial use of it. And beneficial use in the case of that plant is that, well, in the case of that I'm going to get this right. Um, in the case of that plant and these other plants here, is um, I get to use their waste products. They produce this waste product called oxygen, and I absorb it. And my waste product, that one of my many waste products, is carbon dioxide. And I can't do this today. Okay. They get to absorb that. Okay. So this is a beneficial relationship that has existed for millions and millions and millions of years. What if we ran our entire world like that? That consisted of, lots and lots of beneficial relationships where none of the relationships that we have are um, coercive, are negative, etc. I believe that that's possible. I believe that that's what we're going. That's where we're going. I believe that that's what we're doing, and how we do that is going to be the issue that we're facing nowadays. Um, and then the third common is common freedom. We have this mistaken notion in our society that freedom means I can do whatever I feel like doing. And this is tied to that ownership thing of I can do whatever I want to whatever I own. What if this is just a set of relationships again? The relationships being um, I have the ability to benefit myself, and I have the ability to benefit others, and I have the responsibility to minimize my negative impacts in the world and to minimize my negative impacts on other beings. If we start thinking about that being a nation, we're going to be thinking in a completely different way than the ways we think right now. The idea of wars between nations becomes completely ludicrous. We are living in the wealthiest society in the terms of dollars moving in and out, back and forth, etc. Wealthiest society that's ever existed on the planet. And there are people living on the streets and eating out of garbage cans. There's something wrong with the picture. It's your responsibility to fix that picture. It's my responsibility to help, and I'm here to help. Okay, so I want to talk about, and this is something out of the book, what I'm calling the 5 beyonds. How do you get beyond this stuff? So the nation of Gaia was going to be beyond geography. The nation of Gaia will exist everywhere on the planet. It will not be located or confined to any particular place. The second beyond is related to that. So this is beyond exclusivity. The nation of Gaia will be everywhere. The nation of Gaia will be, you name it, if there are living beings there, the nation of Gaia will be there. Third beyond, and all these are related, okay, is beyond violence. How do you maintain a nation nowadays? Well, you get a whole bunch of soldiers and police folks and border patrol and bombs and planes, etc., and you threaten anybody who tries to come over your border without your permission. And when there's a border fight, it's literally a border fight, and this is what we're seeing right now between Ukraine and Russia. People are literally dying because someone drew a line on a map and somebody else crossed it. We have to be able to think this process out, to feel this process out in a completely different way. The fourth beyond is beyond religiosity. As you know, I believe that the nation of Gaia is going to be a deeply spiritual nation, but it doesn't have to do and have anything to do with religious dogma or religious concepts or religious ideas of how you think the world works. Remember, the world works regardless of how you think. And then the fifth beyond is beyond profit. That all of us are here to do our work. All of us have work to do. Here's a very simple experiment. Okay. Take a deep breath. Let it out. If you can do that, then you're on Earth to do some work. Okay. All the folks that don't have any work to do, that have ascended, they can't do that anymore. So if you're on the Earth, if you're breathing oxygen, you've got work to do. In our society, we manage to avoid our work. In our society, we manage to put aside our work. We do things because people give us these pieces of paper and say, I'm going to buy your time and I'm going to make you do X, Y, Z. But the reality is that isn't the work that you came into on the planet to do. James Hillman, who is a psychotherapist, I believe, who wrote a whole bunch of books. Some of the books, as many of you know, my undergraduate degree is in psychology, and Hillman was very influential with me. He wrote a book with a title something like, we've had 100 years of psychotherapy and we're still not well. I would change the title to, we have had 100 years of psychotherapy and we're a lot sicker now. But he wrote a book called The Soul's Code. And he said, you come into this world with a code that rests right near your heart. You come into the world knowing what your purpose is, knowing what you're to do, knowing how you are to contribute in the world. Now, as soon as you're born, you forget it. And you spend the rest of your life trying to discover what that is, which is really interesting. I know that right now I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing on the planet. I know that, but I can't even define what it is. I think that parts of it haven't caught up with me yet, if that makes any sense. I had this thought this morning. Think about Nelson Mandela in his prison cell in solitary confinement for 27 years. Being tortured, being beaten, being isolated. At no point in time could he say, I only got one more year of this, and then I'm out of here, and then I'll be back with my wife, and then I'll be back at the head of my organization, et cetera, et cetera. He had no idea whether he would ever come out of that prison alive. So what kept him going while he was in it? while he's being beaten, while he's being abused, while he's being isolated, what kept him going? And that's the thing that needs to keep us going while we're birthing this baby. I wanted to say one thing about nonprofit. I don't know if you've ever done this, and if you haven't, you should do it. You take a telescope or take a pair of binoculars and put them to your eyes, and you get it focused, and you can see, people way the heck over there. Then turn them around, turn the telescope around and look through the other end, or turn the binoculars around and put them on your eyes, and you can see something. It can be relatively clear. It can be extremely tiny. Now, in our society, in breaker society, we've got the telescope turned around the wrong way. There are lots of questions that we should be asking ourselves. The questions don't get asked, and don't get asked in such a profound way that we can't even figure out. When I ask the question, I repeat it, like, what's he talking about? So I just had the notion running around my head. I was looking out my window, watching my neighbors getting ready to get in their cars and go to work. I get on my feet and go to work. How many cars exist in the world? Let's ask the question differently. How many cars should exist in the world? I can tell you that right now, there are 80 million cars made every single year. Right now in the world, there are 1.5 billion, with a B, cars. And we act like that's not nearly enough. If we had, if we ask ourselves the question, how many cars do we need in the world? How many cars should be in the world? How many cars should exist to answer our kind of basic needs, our frivolous needs, our completely fantastic needs? Whatever number you come up with, it's going to be less than that number. Do we even need individual cars as opposed to other kinds of transportation? So our challenge is, how do we rethink this process? The purpose of writing out the elements of the Nation of Gaia is so that we don't get bogged down into going round and round and round, trying to fix a problem that we haven't even articulated. We think that global climate change is the problem, and it's not. The problem is consciousness. We think that the wars that are happening on our planet and the levels of violence that exist in this society and a lot of other societies is the problem, and it's not. It's about consciousness. Now, I'm going to sit in my small apartment, and I'm going to continue to write my big books. I'm going to continue to say this thing until something shifts. And that thing that is going to shift can happen in 10 years. It could happen in 10 months. It could happen in 10 days. When it happens, the question is, where is the where are the people who are prepared to be the leaders of the process? Where are you right now? And how prepared are you right now to lead the process? Over time again. We're going to continue this conversation on Wednesday. We start looking at what it is that you can do, that you are supposed to do, that all of us together are supposed to do. And how do we take these first steps? And on that, thank you for attending. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. Thank you, and bye.